So hi, it's Mark Lloyd from Property Master Academy, and I'm delighted to be joined today by one of our mentees, Olivia Hornby, who's been on our mentorship program over the past year, and really wants just to ask her a few questions, get some feedback, and hope you'll pick up a few points from it. So, Olivia, before we kind of get into the meat of things, where were you before you joined PMA? What kind of situation were you in?
So very early on in my property journey, I think I'd just completed the refinancing of my first buy-to-let. And I'd also done a flip back in London as well. I had just moved out of London, and the sale of the flip that I'd done it gave me this opportunity to step into property and start building my portfolio. Previous to that, I'd been working as a designer in architecture, trained in architecture, and having worked for myself for a few years, during it, unfortunately lost quite a lot of work, which sort of started the process of thinking it's time to sell up and get out of London and start this journey, which is a very exciting one.
Okay. And so how did you come across us, PMA, and what interested you in what we do?
So right at the beginning, I kind of completely immersed myself in the kind of education of how to begin property investing. So reading the books and listening to the podcast, and then being introduced to Clubhouse. And that's when I first became aware of you, Mark. But I hadn't kind of fully sort of understood exactly what you provide. That kind of came more gradually. And then meeting you at a network event, where you did a seminar on projects, and also mentioned your mentorship at that point. And then we had a discussion, and that's how I became much more aware of you. And for me, it sort of was the step I wanted, the support that I needed in order to kind of move forward at the pace that I wanted to go.
Okay, brilliant. And so what was it about the program that you signed up for? So was there any specific things about it, or was it just you liked me, obviously?
Yes. Yeah, I think I felt very confident in what you were offering. You clearly had a lot of experience, you and Jackie, and then obviously meeting Andrew as well. And yeah, so I think a lot of it was the level of expertise and experience, and I think the program specific, you gave examples where it was you clearly could kind of start in development from an early stage in your property journey, and that was what really hooked me. Because I knew that was something, a pipe dream, something I really wanted to get to and aim to eventually, but thought I would have to go through this other much more lengthy process to get there. And you were offering an opportunity to give the support and education and everything that surrounds kind of getting started in development, which was really exciting. So that's what drew me to it specifically.
Okay, yeah, because I think a lot of people think that you need to have a lot of experience to do development, and certainly aspects of development I 100% agree with. But as you've realised over the past year, there are certain parts of development that actually you can do as a relatively newcomer to property. So okay, so all right, you signed up, you joined. So what happened next?
Basically the support in starting to look for these projects. I just refinanced, so I was in a position to be able to move forward on another project. Actually at the time, I remember I actually was about to purchase another flat, but I sadly got gazumped on that, but that left me in a position to be able to move ahead on a development project. So right at the beginning, really, it's learning how to spot them. So Andrew took us through, and you took us through how to start searching for them, what to look for, and how to kind of analyze them as property deals. And I think that it was a very steep learning curve, and having access to your wealth of knowledge, but also all the kind of analysis tools that you have, whether that's spreadsheets or all the tips and tricks that you have, has just led me very quickly actually to initially 2 projects, which was really exciting. So by March I'd had offers agreed on 2 projects. One has actually completed, and the other I sadly had to walk away from. But I never expected, starting in January, that by March I would have had 2 large projects agreed, and that was a little overwhelming, but also really exciting. And I felt really empowered that I had all the support to help me with that.
Good. I suppose having to walk away from a project is also quite difficult as well. It's knowing when to do that, and hopefully, how did you find the guidance from Andrew and myself
in terms
of walking away from the one that you had to walk away from?
Oh gosh, it was really hard to. And actually, I've continued the application to increase the number of electricity feeds in, just in case they come back to me and accept the reduced offer that I had to put forward. So I know that that's going to expire fairly soon, and whether I repeat it again, I don't know. But I think that was really important guidance in knowing when to walk away. And that's the difference between getting wrapped up emotionally with something and then actually just having your head screwed on and looking at the numbers. Is it going to work? And on this occasion, it just wasn't. And there was just too many uncertainties with it. The level of risk with it wasn't right for me at that stage. And I think the other big thing was that I had another project. So, just being reminded that I still have another one, and that the financing would become so much easier on this one than having to spread myself over 2. And I think that's right. I think the workload has been fine with this singular project.
Okay, so you got one project over the line anyway. So do you want to tell us brief details about that?
Yeah, sure. So it's a beautiful grade 2 listed block of flats. There are 11 flats in the block. I've bought the freehold with 8 of them, so 3 have been sold on long leases already. So it's on the Isle of Wight in a really prime location, and it's fully tenanted and quite run down. It's also not had any rent increases for a long time. So there's kind of various scopes of improvement to be done to the block. There is also some land at the rear which has some opportunity for development, which I shall be exploring in the project. In terms of figures, I purchased the block for £700,000, and the full cost of project eventually came to around just under 730. I managed to leverage around 650 through bridging and leveraging against another property, and I'm able to refinance all the units individually on a title split. I won't have had to do any refurbs, nothing at all. It's purely an administrative development. I'll be able to refinance that and get 660k out of the project, which is fantastic to know that I can get off bridging within the first 6 months. I'm hoping to achieve that very quickly. So that's the kind of first step of the development. And then beyond that, I've got various options of whether I then sell off units, but the incentive is to keep the units so that I can benefit from further uplift over time and increase rents and cash flow. And by keeping hold of the units, then I am in control of the building still and have the opportunity to develop the rear should that be feasible. And that's something I'm exploring this year.
Fantastic. So how did you feel when it finally went over the line?
Oh my God, a total mixture of emotions. It was such a relief because it had been a very long process, as you know. I think it took about 8-9 months to kind of get through because it was literally just before Christmas. It was quite funny because my children were at swimming, and I kind of got the call from the solicitor whilst they were changing in the changing rooms. And I was in great jubilation. I said, I've done it, kids, it's gone through. And they just didn't really have any concept of what had gone on for me that day. But yes, celebrations after that, it was great. But it very quickly, you know, it's just a small stage of the process. It's a real milestone, but you know, and really important to get to. But now the kind of real work is starting, and you know, you kind of very, very quickly switch back into right, heads down, let's get this sorted, and where's the next one? So yeah.
You mentioned your children there. Obviously, you're a single mum. How have you actually managed, you know, doing this alongside your children as well? Because obviously they take up time as well.
They certainly do. And it was kind of quite an important aspect for me to find something that can fit in around them. And I feel like I've found that where I can achieve my financial goals, but also give them the time that they need, but also that I want to give them. So it's definitely been a bit of a juggle at times, and I have to kind of talk to myself strictly when I'm starting to give myself the mother guilt trip, or I'm feeling like I've not done enough work, you know, trying to gain that balance. I think so many women experience that, but it's, you know, I do feel like I'm en route to where I want to be, and I'm achieving goals quicker than I expected, which is really exciting. And I'm on the path to where the kind of big goals are, which is really exciting, because a lot of it is about their financial prosperity and, you know, being able to give them the opportunities that I want to be able to give them.
Okay, fantastic. So, you know, we know that the project's ongoing, and you've just re-signed up to the mentorship again for another year, to get obviously continue out with our support to help you with that project and others that I know you're going to be definitely working on, I'm sure, over the next year. So we'll look forward to those as well. What would you recommend to people do if they were in a similar situation to you roughly 12 months ago, where, I mean, you just met me. I think it was you were aware of me, I think, because we were on Clubhouse or some other media. I think it was Clubhouse, and then you met me as well. So what would you say to other people that were in a similar position to you at that time?
Just jump in, take courage and go for it. And just, I think it's just having that belief that it can happen and can work. I mean, I definitely think you've got to go through that initial kind of sort of immersion of education, and just listen and surround yourself with all the people that kind of have been doing it a long time, maybe not so long, but have that, you know, thirst and drive to kind of move forward, and also getting the support that you need from the beginning, because you know, it is a daunting step to take, and it was far less daunting knowing I had you and Andrew to kind of bounce ideas off, and sort of guidance and all the expertise that I needed. So I definitely recommend that, a total immersion, but also getting your support network in. And a huge part of that is having someone that has so much more experience than you, which I've found through the mentorship, which I highly recommend. So yeah, I think so much of it is even knowing what the questions are to ask, and you know, how to conduct yourself on a phone call to agents. You know, how do you ask? You know, when phoning up to kind of ask about these blocks of flats and things, that, you know, where previously I was asking about one bed flats, singular one beds, you know, to then whole block. And you know, it's kind of building up the vocabulary, and you know, you're kind of able to give the guidance, and then all the negotiations of how to kind of keep your cool in the negotiation. The amount of times Andrew was like, don't worry about it, just leave it a day or so, just don't, it's fine. And you know, just having that support is just so important to help you make those big steps and decisions.
Olivia, thank you very much. So guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below so that others just like you can see it as well. But also subscribe to our channel so you get notified of other videos as and when they're uploaded each and every week. Thank you for listening.